This is a particularly hard time that the whole world is experiencing, and particularly in India with this wave of the pandemic. Many loved ones have been impacted, and the suffering you see in the world is very, very hard for us to live with. And oftentimes we feel that why does this all happen? Why is it happening like this? Why is it happening to our loved ones? And at a human level, that's a very natural feeling for us to have. But when we step up and look at it as the will of God, then that gives us great power to accept what is happening. Towards the end of his life, Swami Kriyananda used to say again and again, you don't have any idea what good karma you have to want to seek God. And in many ways, by emphasizing it loudly, every satsang that he gave, he was giving us this message that that's the only true wealth we have. And that's the only duty we have in this world to lead ourselves into perfection. And that perfection is not a worldly perfection, but perfection in the eyes of the divine, the union of the soul, and the soul really reaching its high potential. But easier said than done when we are going through hardships and uncertainty. And oftentimes, as devotees, a few things start to happen. So, as I talk to a lot of people these days, some of them are experiencing a sense of despair, and that comes from us not going into a sense of overwhelm with what is happening. And if we see the affirmation today, it talked about the protection that is there for all of us and the courage that we need to emit and the space that we need to hold for others so that we can be in the center of that light where nothing can touch us. And that means working with ourselves much harder than probably we've done in other times. Now, as devotees, when we start to work with ourselves, that's also the time when we see our own shortcomings and limitations magnified. And you feel, oh, I am so judgmental, or I have this problem of anger, or, you know, I, I feel that I'm being taken for a ride, and sometimes by loved ones. And these are all human thoughts, and it's perfectly normal to experience them. Every time we go through an emotional upheaval, these are things that come to the surface. And these are ways in which our faith also is being tested. That do we want to succumb or do we want to rise up and meet that opportunity to perfect ourselves, to transcend ourselves? And in the context of self transcendence, Swami Kriyananda and Master emphasized a lot about attitudes. The attitude that we are able to carry as we go about our lives is foundational to our spiritual progress. And there will be days which are less than perfect. And sometimes all we can do is to offer that to the divine and say, here I am in an imperfect form today. Purify me, guide me, bless me. And then the other thing is, we all start our days on a very inspirational note. We do our meditation, we do our kriyas, we chant, we read. And then after that, we step out into going about our day, whether it is getting to work online or offline, or doing the household chores, being in the home with our loved ones. And we start to see how the energy sometimes starts to get dissipated. And we experience not so nice emotions. And this is where Sister Gyanamata says that our faith is tested in the cold light of day. So, at, particularly in these times when anxiety and emotions are very high in the world and everyone's experiencing uncertainty, we need to be able to take that peace that we feel after our meditation and keep replenishing it so that we can nourish those around us. And a lot of that has got to do with attitudes. Swami says, when I say Swami Kriyananda says this, that the attitudes are the fruits of meditation, and the attitudes that you experience and display and live are what you are getting as fruits of meditation. So if it is peace, then it is that peace you should be emanating. If it is joy, then that is what you share with others. And sometimes those meditations are not so perfect, and sometimes there are quite a lot of difficult emotions that come up for us. And sometimes we start to feel sorry for ourselves. I've been through these times when I've sometimes started to have a lot of self doubt and a lot of self pity. Towards the end of Swami Kriyananda's life, I think it was the last satsang that he gave in Pune. And on that particular day, I felt inspired to ask him this question because it was something that I was struggling a lot with. And I asked him, Swami, I feel a lot of self pity, and sometimes it's kind of debilitating. Uh, I feel sorry for myself. What should I do? And he didn't have a long discourse to give in response to that. He looked at me very strongly as if he were sending some kind of a healing comfort to me, but said very firmly, serve more. And over the years, those words have rung in my ears and have started to express itself in different forms in terms of meaning as I reflect on it. And serving more means getting out of yourself and being there for others. And a lot of times we're drawn selfishly into taking care of our family, our children, our job, etc. And what happens is that deepens this consciousness of I, me, mine, and they, them, which is all a separate reality. But the moment we start to serve others and put out energy for others, we forget ourselves. And then we are able to step up and do a lot more, which in some selfish ways is also working with our own tendencies, our own limitations, and improving our attitudes so that we can also climb that path with more courage, with more calmness, with more peace. As we're going through this pandemic, there are a lot of people who reach out to us on a daily basis. And sometimes there is a sense of helplessness. Just 10 minutes before the satsang, a very close friend called me up and said her husband just passed away this morning. And I was just trying to hold light for her. And she was sobbing and she was feeling it was very unfair. And what can we do? And he passed away from COVID, so she probably doesn't have an opportunity to even bid a goodbye to him. It's very difficult, and she and her family are experiencing the disease themselves. And this is everybody's story today. This is all of us know people who are suffering, people who've passed away, people who are struggling. And sometimes you feel helplessness, but what we can do is pray for them, hold them in the light. We can't fix their emotions, we can't fix what they feel, but we can send them light, we can give them courage through the divine, channelizing the light of God, sending them peace, sending them ohms. This is something that we can do. There are ways in which we can be an anchor for many people who are suffering. Just making a phone call to them, asking them how they're taking care of themselves, if there is anything we can help them with. So many calls that we get for whether it is if there is a ventilator bed, is there oxygen cylinders available, is there remdesivir available, the medicine that is used in some cases for treating clots, etc. So people are looking for so many things, and sometimes you've recovered and you're fit enough to donate some plasma. These are all physical ways of giving back. So you look around, look for authentic information, share it with them. Call people who are living alone. Give them that comfort. Send them your love. Keep them in your prayers. And find ways of sharing what you have with others more and more. It's very easy to feel sad and get drawn inside. But what we need to do at this time is to drive the darkness away by turning on the light. Swami and Master always said this, that you can't drive darkness away with a stick. You can't wish it away, you can't beat it away. But what we can do is share a lot of light. So be channels of that light and send it out into the world. And that would be a beautiful way of helping people during these times. If you have any talent, it could be chanting, it could be leading meditations, it could be counseling, talking to people, or being there for them. Reach out and share. It could be yoga, whatever you can in little ways. The world needs every ounce of our energy, and the Divine Ones are looking at us in terms of how we can share what we know and put out more light in the world. And when we do that, when we serve more, then we are able to take the attention of our little self and grow our bigger self more and more closer to God. And that's really the essence of the spiritual path. So find little ways in which you can hold space for others, where you can listen to them, where you can send them love and send a lot of healing prayers. This is also a time for us to keep ourselves very much in tune, because where there is light is where also the darker tendencies tend to attack. So, how do you protect yourself? How do you protect your aura? When you're going into spaces which are probably not as nice as you would want to be, then just put a little protection. This is a technique from Master. Just join your hands in front of you. Om Tat Sat. At the back, join the hands again. Do this 3 times and then step out of the home. This is a great way of protecting your aura and feeling strong. Listen to Swami and Master's talks. So a lot of people these days are complaining of insomnia, not being able to sleep. And I went through a phase of this also. About a month back, I was waking up in the middle of the night and not able to go back to sleep with all of these suffering coming to mind of all the people around. And what I found was reading just a page, no matter if it's in the middle of the night, just switch on a light and read a page from the autobiography of a yogi. And there is such divine comfort there that you will find that in that you can rest and relax and go back to sleep. So find ways of staying connected with the teachings, of practicing the teachings, and feeling it is okay when we are tested more than ever in these times. It takes very, very good karma to be on this path. And I think all we have to do is do everything we can to stay on this path. The grace is there, the blessings are there, and they are going to be behind us. Allow them to use us as instruments of light in these times of hardship.